Australia. Australia's housing crisis is reshaping the fabric of society. The dream of owning a home, a cornerstone of stability and belonging, feels increasingly out of reach for many. How did we get here? In this video, we'll uncover the historical roots of the issue, analyze the sharp rise in property prices, and explore the far-reaching social impacts. But it's not just about the challenges, we'll also look at innovative solutions and what the future could hold. As you watch, ask yourself, how does homeownership influence identity and connection to place? If this resonates with you, join the conversation by liking, commenting, and subscribing for more thought-provoking stories. The Australian Dream. The Australian dream has traditionally symbolized the aspiration of owning a home, a personal sanctuary, a foundation for building wealth, and a haven for families to thrive. Yet this dream is increasingly slipping out of reach. Recent statistics reveal a stark disparity. While house prices have doubled between 2011 and 2024, wages have failed to keep pace. This growing divide has prompted many Australians to reassess the meaning of homeownership in today's society. According to the CoreLogic June 2023 report, the median house price in Sydney surged to 1.2 million odd, while the average annual wage lingered at approximately 94,000 odd. Such an imbalance has left many feeling disillusioned and uncertain about their financial stability. As we delve deeper into this issue, it's worth reflecting. What does a home truly mean to you, and how has your perception of ownership transformed over time? The rise of homeownership. To fully grasp the current housing crisis, we must journey back to the roots of homeownership in Australia. The post-war era of the 1950s and 1960s represented the golden age of the Australian dream. During this period, government initiatives such as the First Homeowner Grant provided crucial financial assistance to first-time buyers, enabling the average Australian household to comfortably afford a home. Homeownership rates soared, reaching their peak at approximately 72% in the 1960s. At the time, owning a home was not just a personal aspiration, it was seen as a fundamental right, embodying stability, prosperity, and success. However, as Australia entered the 1980s, significant changes began reshaping this idyllic narrative. Economic reforms, including the deregulation of the housing sector and incentives for private investment, introduced a new dynamic to the property market. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, heightened competitiveness fueled a sharp rise in property values, setting the stage for the affordability challenges of today. By 1995, homeownership rates had started to wane, and by 2024, they had fallen to 66%, reflecting a dramatic shift in the accessibility and perception of housing in Australia. This decline has been further aggravated by compounding factors such as soaring living expenses, stagnant wage growth, and escalating household debt, which have made it increasingly difficult for many Australians to attain the dream of homeownership. At the same time, evolving demographics and lifestyle trends, such as the rise in single-person households and a growing preference for urban living, have added layers of complexity to the housing landscape. Consequently, the traditional vision of the Australian dream, where homeownership is the cornerstone of middle-class life, is being redefined. To address the pressing issue of housing affordability, innovative and inclusive solutions are more essential than ever. Factors contributing to the housing crisis. Several factors have converged to create the current housing crisis, making the dream of homeownership feel increasingly distant. Let's dissect these issues. Policy changes since the 1980s. Government policies since the 1980s have reshaped the narrative around housing, shifting it from a fundamental human right to a promising investment opportunity. The Australian Bureau of Statistics (ABS) highlights that, in 1981, housing was widely regarded as an essential need. However, by the early 2000s, this perspective had evolved, with property increasingly seen as a vehicle for financial gain. This paradigm shift significantly boosted demand and sent housing prices soaring to unprecedented levels. For example, the average home price in Australia rose from $246,000 odd in 2000 to more than $1 million odd in 2023 in major urban centers, exacerbating a sense of exclusion among middle-income earners. Additionally, policy changes have paved the way for a dramatic rise in foreign investments in the Australian property market. This influx of capital has further inflated housing prices, making home ownership increasingly unattainable for many local buyers. Compounding this issue is the lack of stringent regulations, which has allowed speculative buying to flourish. Investors often purchase properties with the intent of reselling for profit, sidelining their potential use as rental homes or residences. Low interest rates. The COVID-19 pandemic ushered in an era of historically low interest rates in Australia, dropping to near zero levels. The Reserve Bank of Australia reduced the cash rate to just 0.1% in November 2020, making borrowing more affordable and sparking a surge in housing demand. This led to a staggering 25% increase in property prices from 2020 to 2022, particularly in metropolitan hubs like Sydney and Melbourne. The remarkable pace of this growth raises pressing questions about its long-term sustainability. While low interest rates have enabled many households to enter the property market, they have also led to skyrocketing mortgage debt. Many buyers took on substantial loans to secure homes, creating potential vulnerabilities if interest rates rise. Moreover, the reduced appeal of savings during this period has fueled borrowing, further worsening the housing affordability crisis and amplifying financial risks for individuals and the broader economy. Reduced public investment in housing. A key contributor to Australia's housing crisis is the steep decline in public funding for housing development. In 1978, around 20,000 public housing units were constructed annually, but by 2023, this number had plummeted to approximately 3,000. This sharp reduction in government-backed housing projects has significantly diminished the availability of affordable homes, leaving vulnerable populations without adequate options. Shelter Australia reports that public housing waiting lists now exceed 200,000 people, highlighting the critical scale of the issue. With limited access to affordable housing, many are forced into unstable rental situations or even homelessness. This decline in public investment has also undermined the availability of social housing, which is vital for supporting low-income households and individuals facing homelessness. Additionally, the reduction in government funding has led to inadequate maintenance and modernization of existing public housing stock. As a result, the quality of these homes has deteriorated, further exacerbating challenges for those in greatest need. Complex building regulations. Legal and bureaucratic challenges further intensify the crisis. Australia's intricate building regulations have made it increasingly difficult to develop new housing projects. According to a report from the Productivity Commission, obtaining development approvals can take anywhere from several months to multiple years. Lengthy delays and excessive red tape hinder developers, slowing the construction of much-needed homes and widening the gap between supply and demand. Over the past decade, the average time required to secure planning approval for residential projects has surged by more than 30%, frustrating efforts to alleviate the housing shortage. The convoluted regulatory environment has also driven up construction costs, as developers must allocate additional time and resources to navigate the approval process. Moreover, inconsistencies in building regulations across Australia's states and territories add another layer of complexity, creating confusion for developers attempting to operate in multiple regions. These fragmented regulations not only stall progress but also limit the ability of the housing sector to respond effectively to the nation's growing housing needs. Increased immigration. Australia has emerged as a sought-after destination for immigrants, driving an unprecedented surge in population. According to the Australian Department of Home Affairs, net migration exceeded 300,000 people in 2023, intensifying pressure on the already strained housing market. This influx of newcomers has heightened competition for housing, pushing property prices even higher as demand continues to outpace supply. Take Melbourne as an example. Rental prices in the city have risen by approximately 8% within just 1 year. This sharp increase has further widened the gap between housing demand and availability, particularly in urban hubs where shortages are most pronounced. Additionally, the scarcity of affordable housing options has forced many households to share living spaces with multiple families, resulting in overcrowded conditions that undermine living standards and overall quality of life. Rising construction costs. Another critical factor exacerbating the housing crisis is the sharp rise in construction costs. The Housing Industry Association has reported a 30% increase in the costs of materials and labor since 2020, driven by supply chain disruptions and inflationary pressures. These escalating expenses, combined with prolonged construction timelines, compel developers to raise property prices, making new homes increasingly unaffordable for many Australians. With the cost of living climbing, homeownership has become an even more distant dream for countless individuals. Moreover, rising construction costs have eroded the profitability of building affordable housing, discouraging developers from pursuing such projects. Compounding the issue is the industry's limited investment in innovative and efficient construction technologies, which could otherwise help mitigate costs and improve productivity. The result is a housing sector struggling to meet demand while leaving affordability out of reach for a growing segment of the population. By addressing these interconnected challenges, Australia can work towards a more sustainable and equitable housing market for all. The social impact of the housing crisis. The current housing situation is not just about numbers, it has real social consequences. As housing prices continue to soar, the gap between homeowners and renters widens, creating a society characterized by stark contrasts. Unaffordable housing. With property prices far outpacing the average income, many Australians are finding it increasingly difficult to break into the housing market. Data reveals that house prices, once just 2.8 times the average income in 1987, have soared to a staggering 9.7 times by 2023, positioning Australia as the second most expensive housing market globally, trailing only Hong Kong. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics (ABS), Sydney's median house price has climbed to an extraordinary 1.2 million odd, leaving first-time buyers struggling to accumulate the hefty deposits required to secure a home. This trend underscores the widening inequalities within the economy, fueling debates around equity and accessibility in the housing sector. The unaffordability crisis has also curtailed social mobility, as those priced out of the housing market often find themselves confined to areas with limited access to quality education, stable employment, and essential healthcare. In addition, the scarcity of affordable housing options has exacerbated intergenerational inequality, with younger Australians increasingly dependent on financial support from parents or grandparents to achieve homeownership. Rent burden. For renters, the situation is equally dire, with housing costs consuming a significant portion of household income. Reports estimate that renters now dedicate as much as 68% of their earnings to rent. A study conducted by Anglicare Australia revealed that just 2% of minimum wage earners could afford to rent a room in a shared house. This financial strain severely limits household budgets and shapes major life decisions, including starting a family or pursuing further education. The broader effects of diminished disposable income ripple through communities, impacting mental health and overall quality of life. The weight of housing costs has intensified housing stress, with many renters facing constant anxiety over their ability to meet rent payments. Moreover, the absence of robust rent control measures and tenant protections has led to a surge in evictions, leaving countless renters in a precarious state without a secure place to call home. Rising inequality. The crisis has given rise to a two-tiered society, where affluent homeowners enjoy the benefits of growing property equity, while renters grapple with the daily struggle to make ends meet. According to the Australian Council of Social Service, the wealthiest 20% of Australians control more than 60% of the nation's wealth, while the bottom 20% possess less than 1%. This widening wealth gap exacerbates social inequality and intensifies pre-existing challenges within communities. Renters, unable to break into the housing market, often face mounting difficulties in securing stable and affordable accommodation, leading to feelings of exclusion and a loss of purpose. Moreover, the growing disparity has eroded social cohesion, pushing those priced out of housing to society's margins, where they are frequently deprived of essential services and amenities. The shortage of affordable housing options has also led to a concerning rise in homelessness, forcing countless individuals and families to live on the streets or in precarious temporary housing. Mental health impacts. The housing crisis has profound mental health repercussions. The uncertainty and stress of being unable to afford a home can trigger anxiety, depression, and a host of other mental health conditions. Research by the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare reveals that housing stress is a major factor in mental health problems, with those affected more likely to suffer from depression and anxiety. Additionally, the absence of stable, secure housing fosters a sense of disconnection and isolation, further aggravating mental health struggles. Financial pressure stemming from soaring housing costs amplifies this burden, leaving many Australians overwhelmed and strained. The crisis has also intensified overcrowding, which heightens tension and stress within households, compounding the mental and emotional toll on those affected. Intergenerational impacts. The housing crisis carries profound intergenerational consequences. The scarcity of affordable housing forces younger generations to depend on financial support from their parents or grandparents to purchase homes. This reliance undermines social mobility and exacerbates intergenerational inequality. Additionally, skyrocketing housing costs compel many couples to delay starting a family, contributing to declining fertility rates. The crisis also disproportionately affects older adults, pushing many into poverty as they struggle to meet the rising costs of housing. Beyond financial hardship, this has led to increased age-related housing stress, leaving older adults grappling with anxiety and uncertainty about their ability to maintain stable living conditions. Community impacts. The housing crisis has equally significant repercussions on communities. A shortage of affordable housing weakens social cohesion and reduces community capital, as individuals priced out of the housing market often find themselves marginalized. high housing expenses also force families and individuals to prioritize basic shelter over community involvement, resulting in diminished civic engagement and participation. This has fragmented communities, with socioeconomic groups segregated into different neighborhoods based on their financial capacity. Moreover, the pervasive stress surrounding housing affordability affects entire communities, as countless people face constant anxiety and insecurity over their ability to sustain their living arrangements. Government response and potential solutions. Recognizing the gravity of the housing crisis, the Australian government has begun implementing measures to tackle this escalating issue. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has announced a bold plan to invest $32 billion odd in constructing 1.2 million new homes over the next 5 years. This initiative is designed to ease the housing shortage and rekindle the dream of homeownership for countless Australians. While the investment signifies a strong commitment to housing affordability, the real challenge will lie in ensuring the timely and effective execution of these plans. Key elements of the government's strategy include boosting the supply of affordable housing by incentivizing developers to prioritize cost-effective projects and introducing policies aimed at reducing construction expenses. Additionally, the establishment of a new national housing authority has been proposed. This body will oversee the implementation of housing policies, ensuring they address the diverse needs of Australians. Working in collaboration with state and local governments, as well as the private sector, the Housing Authority will strive to deliver more affordable housing options and address the underlying factors contributing to the crisis. These combined efforts reflect a comprehensive approach to resolving one of the nation's most pressing issues. Furthermore, the government has also recognized the need to address the issue of housing affordability in regional areas, where the shortage of affordable housing is often more acute. To this end, the government has announced plans to invest in regional infrastructure, such as roads, public transport, and community facilities, to make regional areas more attractive to residents and to support the growth of local economies. This investment will not only help to address the housing shortage in regional areas, but also contribute to the overall economic development of these regions. Overall, the government's response to the housing crisis is a step in the right direction, but it will require careful planning, coordination, and implementation to ensure that the goals of increasing affordable housing and restoring the dream of homeownership are achieved. The government must work closely with all stakeholders, including state and local governments, the private sector, and community organizations, to deliver effective solutions to this complex and multifaceted issue. Expert opinions and recommendations. Experts have weighed in on the situation and proposed a range of solutions, including streamlining building regulations, simplifying the intricate web of regulations surrounding housing development could significantly accelerate construction timelines and enable developers to deliver new homes more efficiently. A collaborative effort between local authorities and builders has the potential to eliminate bureaucratic hurdles, paving the way for faster progress while reducing unnecessary costs. This simplification could also make construction more affordable, ultimately benefiting homebuyers. Additionally, a reformed regulatory framework could foster innovation and sustainability in construction practices, resulting in higher quality homes with minimal environmental impact. By making the process more straightforward, more developers may be encouraged to enter the market, boosting competition and driving down housing prices. Increasing public housing investment. Many specialists advocate for renewed and substantial investment in public housing to ensure affordable options for society's most vulnerable members. Expanding the construction of public housing, particularly in high-demand regions, would provide immediate relief for low-income families struggling to find stable accommodations. Enhanced public housing initiatives could also play a crucial role in reducing homelessness by increasing access to affordable living spaces. Moreover, investing in public housing projects would stimulate local economies, creating jobs and fostering economic growth. Thoughtful public housing plans could also integrate essential community amenities, such as childcare centers, healthcare facilities, and recreational programs, elevating the living standards and well-being of residents. These approaches collectively represent a comprehensive path towards solving the housing crisis while addressing economic, social, and environmental concerns. Adjusting property taxes. Tax reform in the real estate sector could deter speculative investing while redirecting resources toward affordable housing initiatives. Implementing measures such as vacancy taxes could incentivize property owners to either rent or sell their unused properties, thereby increasing the available housing stock. Moreover, adjusting property taxes could also lead to a more equitable distribution of wealth, as speculative investors would be discouraged from hoarding properties. Additionally, tax reform could also encourage developers to build more affordable housing, as they would be incentivized to sell or rent their properties rather than holding them vacant. Furthermore, a well-designed tax system could also generate revenue for the government, which could be used to fund affordable housing initiatives and support low-income households. Community support initiatives. Community-driven initiatives that promote shared housing or co-housing models offer innovative alternatives to traditional home ownership. These collaborative living arrangements not only help reduce costs but also strengthen social connections among residents. Such initiatives foster a deep sense of community and belonging, which are vital for mental health and overall well-being. By incorporating shared facilities like kitchens, gardens, and community programs, these models significantly enhance the quality of life. Moreover, they create opportunities for skill sharing and knowledge exchange, empowering residents to actively participate in shaping their housing and community development. As a blueprint for sustainable and inclusive housing, community-driven initiatives inspire other communities to adopt similar approaches, paving the way for a more connected and supportive society. This collective effort transforms housing into more than just a space. It becomes a thriving ecosystem of shared growth and sustainability. Conclusion: the path forward. As we wrap up our journey through Australia's housing crisis, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What solutions do you think hold the key to resolving this challenge? How has housing shaped your life or your community? Your perspective is invaluable as we work together to better understand and tackle this critical issue. Thank you for joining Travel Documentary. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of the world's most pressing topics. Together, we can spark meaningful conversations and inspire action for a brighter future. Stay curious and keep exploring with us.